So it's like I'll pay $400 and then I'll like put 500 on and then I'll pay 600. So it's just like my credit.
It's getting out of the mixer.
Starting soon.
What is up, Album Book Club? Welcome back to another episode of Music Reviews. Whatever. Today, these guys are here too.
Hi.
Hi.
Not the best intro, but this week...
Dude. We're falling apart.
All right, hold on. Hearing myself.
Going crazy over there?
Yes. This week, we are reviewing Destrier by Agent Fresco. This album was suggested to us by the lead singer on Instagram. My phone is playing our own audio. Let's get into it. We're going to start with our top 3 off of the album. My top 3 was Wait For Me, See Hell, and Dark Water.
My top 3 are The Autumn Red, Destrier, and Let Fall the Curtain. Sorry.
My top 3 are Wait For Me, Pyre, and Bemoan.
I have Sea Hell, Howls, and Dark Water.
Pretty diverse, but we have some overlap.
Yeah, there's some overlap. Let's get into our bottom song. My bottom song was Angst.
My bottom song was Mono No. What's the last one? How do you pronounce that?
I said it probably wrong earlier. Mono no Aware.
That one.
I think that's close.
Sure.
It sounds close.
Sounds about right.
My bottom song is Let Them See Us.
Mine was also Let Them See Us.
That is fair. Let's move on into Let Them See Us. I gave it a 6 out of 10.
I gave this a 4 out of 10.
I gave it a 5 out of 10.
I gave it a 4. Do you want me to start?
Okay.
Yeah, generally didgeridoo don't. I can't. For some reason, I don't know. It might not have been a didgeridoo, but that's what it sounded like, and that starts driving me bonkers. So I think that's the whole reason this got a 4.
My first note on here is why I got a Decepticon moaning in my ears. I thought it was like a robot, like, you know? It's the full, it was like a minute 15, a minute and a half a drone, right? I know it was over a minute long, and it is just not the way to start an album. The voice in this, like the lyrics, like the vocals, they're actually really good, but they're really covered by what else is going on in this song. It also sounds a lot like a movie soundtrack. It sounds like a background track to a song. I got that heavy vibe throughout the whole song.
This band does have a lot of work in soundtracks and scores, so that does make a lot of sense. I just think that this song does not do a great job of telling you what you're getting into, especially considering what happens immediately after this song.
Yeah, the album gets weirdly good.
Yeah, I don't think this song does a good job at being a song, man. It really is just like a sandwich of like things. Like, I say that word too much, damn it. You have the intro, which is just, yeah, I guess, robot moaning, which is also kind of the outro, but then the super sick transitions thrown in there. You guys were right, I was wrong earlier. Would like to point that out. And then there's just like a rough vocal patch in there. It's just kind of confusing. It's soup, man. Just a bunch of jumbled just there.
That's kind of why I said it felt like a soundtrack, kind of like it felt like these belonged to like distinct scenes, and this was one song playing throughout them, like maybe like a montage moment of different things happening.
Yeah, there's a lot of times where there's really long like drones at the beginning or the end of a song, and I think that's kind of where they got that from, is different soundtracks that they've worked on. Because in a normal song, I don't think you ever need a almost 2.5 minute fade out.
I think almost the downside of that can be is I don't think they're sticking to one soundtrack to pull from.
That is true.
Because I can't picture a scene for any song on this album in my head. Now I can like think of like how the music works and see how that is, but I can't picture the scenes. But I can see how these would fit for scenes. I just can't picture like a specific one.
I don't like the drones, for the record, but I understand why they're there. They're supposed to be like a palate cleanser when it's switching genres, or when you start the album, or when you do this kind of thing. It helps to kind of clean sections up in order to kind of present these kind of out there rock ideas. That tends to be kind of how prog rock works. It tends to go through kind of a transition into a section and then a transition out. And I think that's kind of how these were supposed to function. But we generally hate on interludes, and they're pretty much just interludes built into the songs. So I wasn't surprised that we kind of scored a little low.
Yeah, I think my biggest note was this is just an intro track, and intros get usually that score from me. So
I was so hoping you would say that because I had this exact thought of I would give this a better score if it was just an intro track. But just an intro track is not 3 minutes long.
Mm-hmm.
That is full track length time.
So everything's messed up on this album that way, because we're going to get into it later, but there's definitely some tracks that could have been an intro track that are the right length. More than one of them, weirdly enough.
yep.
All right.
All right. Moving on to Dark Water. I gave this one an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, this one is 6.5.
I gave this one a 7.5.
Give this one an 8.
I loved that intro. The transition into this song, I thought it was sick. I was really surprised when it came about because we had that long drone right before it. And it brought such needed energy into this listen. I thought it was like a nice kick in the right direction. I think the vocals are still kind of low in this one. It gets a little bit muddied. But overall, I think it's really solid.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I saw was this happens a couple times, and I don't think this is like revolutionary or anything, but they kind of build this rock song around the piano. And again, like that's not the craziest thing I've ever seen, but I thought it was done really well throughout, because they do it a handful of other times where there's just this constant piano melody and then a song built completely around that.
Yeah. I thought obviously the transition was great. And the good parts of the song were really good, and the bad parts of the song were kind of like really bad. This was the song I noted that the vocals are really good and the track is really good. I just don't think they're quite married and in love with each other. Maybe married on the way to divorce. But I think they're both really talented. It just could maybe use a backup vocal or someone in the mids. There's just something missing in there.
Yeah,
It's just
you're
a little
right.
hollow.
This strained relationship really needs a child right in the middle.
It
right?
does. Yeah, like yeah.
That's how it works, right?
Mhm.
That's how you fix your marriage from not going into divorce. You just have a kid.
Or you cheat.
Eh.
It only fixes the problem for one person.
I was just going to say the vocals were an acquired taste. That was definitely... that's exactly... You said it. I don't know. It's just... It's not that they're bad. And they're not bad.
No,
They're very
not at
good.
all.
I just... I don't know. I didn't like them. It's not that I don't like the accent. 'Cause I went through all these possibilities. I was like, okay, what... Is it something? And I think you're dead on. I don't think it is what I expected to hear. I don't think it's that it's wrong. I think it's that I listened to some stuff that's vaguely related to this, so I didn't expect it to be there, and I didn't warm up to it.
That actually kind of makes sense, because the note we all pretty much had on the first track is it prepared you 0% for what happens after, and this song was probably affected by that a little bit. Got anything else?
Yeah, I think I'm good.
All right, next up is Pyre. I gave it a 7 out of 10.
I gave it a 7 out of 10.
I gave it an 8 out of 10.
Give it 7.5.
Dang. I'm the one who rated it the highest. I love the beeps and boops and shit right at the start. I thought about putting that in quotes just for you, Logan. I thought the vocals sounded a lot better. They shined a lot more through in this one, and unlike you guys, I don't know, it didn't really throw me off at all. Maybe because I don't listen to a lot of the adjacent genres, but I just liked it off rip. Like, I liked his vocals from the start, and they really pop in this one without having that smothered feel from the previous songs.
There's definitely a brighter vibe in general on the song, and it might be the mix, it might be the way the band layered or something. The whole song is just a little brighter. I put that as being probably the biggest change.
I think the reason for that might be I'm gonna call it the bass part, but I'm pretty sure it's a bass and a synth. I think at the same time it might just be the synth with another layered synth, but it sounded like both to me. It's almost ripped straight out of a pop song, and when you hear everything around it, it almost doesn't work, but then it does somehow, and I couldn't wrap my head around why.
It's a very catchy song. It's very like riff driven. So I don't know. That was interesting.
Yeah, I thought this one sounded really cool too.
Yeah. I mean, I said what Carl said just in dumb words, which was there was a lot of energy. It was very fun. This was the song. I'd mentioned it while we were talking prior to the podcast that this had reminded me of The Greatest Showman. And this was the one that reminded me of it. It just had that like fun crowd energy, which I think is kind of a hard thing to capture, especially in a studio. Like even if you get a crowd in there, you can't get crowd energy, but you can get crowd energy with like as little as 2 guys if it's just done right. And I think this track kind of like pulls that off to me. There's just so much like backing behind it that I'm like, yeah, all right, cool.
So you guys don't watch on YouTube, do you? I'm the only one that usually streams.
I used to, but
I
not
say I
anymore.
pretty much only use Apple Music.
Okay, so part of the reason I like to watch on YouTube is because I can read some of the comments sometimes. And this band had a lot of comments that were like, hey, if you like this, you should hear it live, or great live show. And so it seems like a lot of this stuff maybe just didn't fit into almost the can that the album is. And for whatever reason, I didn't have a chance to go listen to them live before this. I was kind of crunched for time today, but I have a feeling it's one of those things.
Actually, now that I'm thinking about that and knowing what this album did, I bet it's a crazy live show.
Yeah.
You ready?
Yeah.
Next up is Destrier. I gave it a 6 out of 10.
I gave this a 7.5.
I gave this one a 7.
Yep, 7.
I can take it. This lost 4 points for the crunchy guitar. Everything else about this song I liked, except for that specific sound. I hated it.
My second note, damn, that's some insane crunch. I felt like the vocals went back to being hard to hear, and this is where I started to think, it's weird, because there's a weird motif going on through these, where the mix sounds different in like half the songs than the other half, and I began to wonder, like, it was some of this mixed by a different person, and you brought up a good point earlier, Logan, about that.
Yeah, it's probably just the mastering. I think some of these could have just been not mastered, or like that. It just feels like some of them needed one more volume check. Because like the compression or like all the same things will be there. You can hear certain things in the tracks. You're like, okay, this was the same guy, or at least like a similar team. Carl's giggling like I'm a dumbass.
No, it's not that. It's because it's so disjunct. I actually kind of thought about it as you were talking about it. That's why I was laughing, is because when I was listening to it, I was like, this is such a weird album, and it never put together to me that every song is almost mastered to the style. It almost plays like a greatest hits album or something. It's kind of interesting because they all have these different levels that benefit the song. I don't know, maybe it's just a very artistic
That is true.
mastering, where you're used to more of a, I'm not going to say flat Metallica mastering, but you know, that those are polar opposites there. This is almost like some of them were creative choices.
This isn't an album master, essentially. This isn't meant to be mastered as one piece overall. It's the individual pieces that are mastered, and then this is the work of art shown.
That's another thing I definitely say later, is the whole album is just better as singles. I think the whole thing in general, it's not that it's bad, but they all have that vibe.
It's very hard to go out there and then reel yourself back in and make it make sense 15 times in a row. The honest answer is I can't do it 2 times in a row. So some of these, like, perfect together.
Thumbs up somehow.
Apparently. Some of these are like perfect together, and then some of these are just like cheese grater, man. This song, fun as hell. I thought it was catchy. There was so much energy. I was digging the crunchy. I had fun.
I saw a meme the other day on one of the guitar things. It was like, if metal sounds like this, you're too old. And it was just a guy playing the bottom string on a guitar, like da 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 da, and I was like, oh yeah, that's this.
That's exactly what metal is.
No, it was on like a perfectly clean guitar with like reverb on. It was like, it was a funny joke, but I kind of had that moment at the end of this. I literally wrote just dun dun in my notes, and I was like, oh, I know what that is. I was like, I know what that means. It's not that I don't know. It's not for me. It's one of those things I don't enjoy. So I think it scored a little low for that.
Are we still talking about Destrier? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the only other note I had about it is this one is one of the shorter ones, right? It's only like 2 minutes.
I need to start writing times.
I
now.
will
Yeah.
be
That's different.
completely honest. The entire first half of this album, couldn't tell you time on anything. It was kind of just like going.
I think everything for the first half is within like the 2:45 to 4.
This
minute
one
range.
was actually considerably shorter. So we 3:45, 3:38, 3:33, and then 2:20 for Destrier. So you would notice that. It's not as crazy as later, but
Yeah.
you would notice that.
Cool.
Cool.
Next up, Wait For Me. I gave it an 8.5 out of 10.
I gave this a 7 out of 10.
I also gave this an 8.5 out of 10.
I give it a 6.
Fuck you,
Damn.
Carl.
Yeah, sorry. I can put it down to one thing. I didn't like the feel of this one. I literally wrote the fact that it's in some sort of weird halftime groove is garbage.
No, that's what I loved about it. That's what I really got into.
I was like, it's moderately groovy, but the guitar parts are weird and the halftime is garbage.
I thought the guitar part was super cool. I thought the grooviness was awesome.
I don't know, dude. It felt like greasy wrong or something to me. I don't know, maybe.
It does. It does feel that way, but it's awesome.
This is the one where in the middle of this song they brought in almost a Midwest emo riff. I thought that was weird, but I was here for pretty much everything guitar-wise that they brought.
See, what it really was for me is it captivated my attention, and it did so well that I forgot to take notes for most of the song. And I was like, I just dig this whole piece. I like the weird grooves that it's bringing.
I think I goofed up on this album pretty hard right here. I started listening. I was like, man, I'm not giving this vocalist enough attention. Let me listen. Man, this might have been the worst song to do. The lyrics to this one are just like, they're there. There might have been a meaning that I just could not understand. But they just felt like the most throwaway lyrics in the world. That's my complaint with this song. Everything else, great. Minus they were tweaking volume-wise. There's some tweaks that could have been done. Piano was going nuts.
I think for most of this album, if there's a piano, it's probably going nuts.
Yeah,
That is so
the
true.
piano here goes super hard. And playing off what you said about the lyrics, Logan, I did read a lot of them, and a lot of them are like weirdly poetic. Like some of the lyrics are like, oh, that's like a beautiful poetry type thing, and then the rest of them mean nothing.
Oh,
And it's really weird. Or maybe I'm just too stupid to get it.
That's exactly. I'm like sitting here listening to. I think it's just when you get to repeated lyrics a lot, and this one has it like quite a few times. I felt like maybe it was just like my brain was just firing when it was repeating.
I did notice there's a lot of songs that end with repeated lyrics, but almost all of them are 4 times. Like just under what I would comment about.
That's fair. But I think it's just whenever I think about that, just like especially when it does end like that, it makes me think, man, there just wasn't much to this song if they're ending on repetition. It means they were trying to pad out the time. Because I know that's what we do. we just start saying shit, man.
And we say different shit.
We do say different shit. They just say the same shit. Or nas.
How many?
Although I will argue in defense of everyone we've ever reviewed, Up Down.
What?
It's a,
Look, I think the beat is a banger. I didn't say
Yeah,
the
yeah.
lyrics was great.
yeah, but
So I'm just realizing that like I'm totally guilty of that when we play the blues gigs. It's super funny when we'll pad stuff out. It's such a funny thing. The other thing I'm realizing is me and you have, myself and Logan, have polar opposite mastering styles, because I really love the dynamicism, I guess, the kind of the volume levels and the peaks and valleys of this album. It's so hi-fi in a way that was surprising to me. It's very much not a rock album sound, and I was so super hyped for the master specifically. So it's funny, we just have opposite tastes.
I think I like flat with highlights.
Yeah.
Just from like, you know, a concert band performance background into then like a rock bar band background where it's all those guys started at the same place. You see a lot of this, like everyone's playing at one tone and then one person gets their like shine. You get that a lot with like school jazz bands. I haven't played in a jazz band past that, so I can't tell you how accurate it is to being that way.
I remember Jazz Band Logan.
I think I showed up for like one in high school, one practice, and was like, no, fuck this.
It was probably after I had already gotten out of there.
I think. They were like, yeah, we need somebody to play bass for like this one practice. I was like, all right, cool.
Oh yeah, that was definitely after I had gotten out of there.
This is ridiculous. Gooberific even.
I just want to know what word I was looking for. I still can't come up with it. I was trying to come up with what I was trying to say with dynamicism. There's a better way to say that. I'll find it. I'll come back to you in like 10 minutes.
Are you sure the
Dynamic
word is not
range.
just dynamics?
Dynamic
that's-
range.
No, I said the right word. I don't know. It sounds super pretentious. It's fine.
Say it one more time and it sounds fake, I bet.
Dynamicism.
It does not sound like a real word.
No, it's a real word. I just Googled it, man.
It's fake.
We'll pull
Oh,
Scrabble
yes,
right now.
Nothing is ever
Hey,
wrong on the internet.
When you
folks.
Googled it, did you get like a Google page or did you get the Google AI?
Dude,
That
Google
thing's wrong.
No.
every
Google
single time.
AI is wrong every single
Yep.
time.
Have you seen some of the ones where if you Google, is it recommended to smoke while pregnant? It'll be like, it's
Yes.
recommended to smoke 4 packs a day while you're pregnant. And
Oh my god!
like, they are,
What?
yeah, never trust Google AI.
What track
I mean,
are we on?
who would ever trust AI? Howls.
Yeah, he doesn't know.
Yeah, number
Hold on,
please.
I'll
I
figure it out.
goofed this week. It's been a very
Moving
busy
on
day.
to track 6, Howls. I gave this one a 7.5 out of 10.
I gave this one a 7.5 out of 10.
I gave this one a 6.5 out of 10.
I gave it an 8+. So
Holy
better.
shit!
Plus.
I have to go on the
Oh.
defense. This one just didn't hold my attention. I don't know what it was. I just kind of zoned out to this one. Like it was pretty good, but it was just kind of there for me.
Yeah, so to explain, an 8+ is just a little better than an 8. I had a number 8, and I wanted to make my top 3 easy because I knew I liked this one slightly better than the other one. I didn't want to give it like an 8.01. Sorry. Really cool low energy intro, and then there's a lot of energy when the track comes in, and then the reason it got the plus at the very end was the cool orchestra at the end.
Yeah, this song was just fun for me. I like the synths that they use. I think every synth they use on this album I like. I can't think of one that I disliked unless the crunchy guitar was somehow a synth. But yeah, the chorus was pretty memorable. That's really all I had for this one.
Yeah. Energy was there. Bass guitar was not there. Vocals were very there, very loud. Yeah, I could hear the bass barely in AirPods, and that's a problem 'cause they get some bass. But it was very fun. And I mean, I'm just pretentious as hell about the mix, so these aren't really complaints that are worth anything.
So it's funny. Ed, you guys said we'll talk about YouTube again for a second because I watched the video during this one. It's really cool. I've never seen a band so happy to be in the studio. They were literally smiling the entire time they were in there and hanging out and having a good time, and it kind of like comes through the song. It's really an interesting thing. There's kind of this uplifting vibe to it for whatever reason.
The vibes to this album, immaculate. Like, the musicianship, there. Like, you can clearly tell these are people who care about what they're doing and, like, doing it and how they do it. It is just not everyone's taste, and that is the unfortunate way of how the world works. I wish everybody could like everything that everybody put out and supported each other, but it's just unfortunate that I
100
don't love
gigs exists,
every
you
song.
know?
I just say that I don't love every song on here. But one of the things that does shine is the musicianship, the talent, the like just joy of being there. I've never been happy in the studio once in my life.
Right.
I
that's
sit
what
down,
I was thinking.
like I walk in, I'm like, the first time I'm like, yep, gonna record, excited, and then I sit down for 5 seconds and I want to die, and I never want to go back, and I have to.
Yeah, most musicians treat it almost like a root canal.
It's awful.
Oh yeah. But
I don't like it.
Yeah, you're the producer too. You've got the you've got the fun side. You get to yell at people.
No.
You don't have to fake turn knobs and just play better.
I get to fake turn knobs.
That is true.
They're digital knobs, but
They're even faker knobs.
yeah.
so there used to be a company. This is a brief aside, but I almost bought some of these, and I may still build some. They actually built. They were fake rack panels for studio installations that you put 9-volt batteries in. That when you turn knobs, lights would change colors on the front of the thing, and that's all it did. It wasn't plugged into anything. So that if like a guitarist came in and was like, "Hey, turn me up," you could be like, "Turn that knob," and they would turn it, and the lights would get bright, and they would be like, "Oh, cool, yeah, I can totally hear myself now," because like you get to a point where your ears are totally gone, and usually when they're asking to turn up, that's what's going on. But it's super funny the way the psychoacoustics work. So guys were actually buying these things. I may eventually build one.
Yeah, my Les Paul from the Columbus vlog has 2 dead knobs in it that I have used before when the producer's like, hey, can you adjust your tone a little? I'm like, oh yeah, and I really know it's just because I sucked really bad on the last take and wouldn't admit it. So you move one of the fake knobs and you're like, good to go. Just roll.
You know that can be fixed. We have the technology.
I like the producer knobs.
We have the YouTuber series.
The real answer is I just need to not suck ass at playing guitar and record right the first take.
Yeah, we need to get the 9s off of there and get it in E standard. But that's another
It is
conversation.
an E flat with 9s. It is cursed. Thing's been to hell and back. I love it. Went to Ohio.
All right. We ready to move on?
Yeah.
Do we have more fake knobs to build?
More fake knobs to build. The knobs are real.
Why are we talking about knobs, boys?
The Autumn Red. I gave it a 7 out of 10.
I gave this one an 8.
I also gave this one a 7 out of 10.
I gave it a 6.
Mine's very easy. I liked it. I wrote not a ton to talk about, but it does have a very long outro.
I have something kind of similar. I thought the intro was kind of neat. I thought the like weird ethereal vibe going on. I thought that was really cool to listen to for a second. And there's some really cool like layering effects going on that I really liked. But yeah, overall, I liked it. It was here. Great. What are you cheesing at? What's going on?
I think I started counting how many times you went to say I really liked it.
Yeah.
And it was like 4
Yeah,
when I
probably.
started counting. Man, he's valid. He does really like it, and I really like it too. The drums were going ham. Everything was great. There was energy. There ain't shit to talk about other than how fun it was. But yeah,
So I can explain. The ending of it is just an E chord, and it's like I'm pretty sure it's the open E on the bottom of the guitar. Because when this was playing earlier, I was like, why does that sound so familiar? So I grabbed my guitar and started playing. I was like, you gotta be freaking kidding me. And the chord never changes. So, no, it's fine. That just annoyed me enough to bring it down a little bit.
Let's go. Unrelated to what you said.
Oh,
Sorry.
well, that's too bad.
Logan, we're in the middle of something. I'll read it
yeah,
later.
I know. I don't care. This is important. They have a camera. They can talk.
They weren't, though.
What do you want us to talk about?
We talked about the song.
No,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
just kidding.
Let's talk about the next one.
Good.
Citadel. I gave it a 6.5 out of 10.
I believe I gave this one a 7. This is track 8, right?
Yes.
Cool. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, you gave this one a 7.5.
6.5.
All right, I'll bitch. This is where I couldn't figure out how much money this band had, and I didn't know if I was bitching about things I should bitch about or being an asshole. Everything got really muddy on this track, and I don't know if it is just truly a case of maybe cheaper gear or a less good mix. I couldn't tell on this one. It could have been either. And you know, if it is cheaper gear, shit happens, dude. Sometimes you end up having to use cheaper gear or that. Or if it's a mix problem, yet again, shit happens. Something got muddy.
There's no excuse. Cheaper gear is not an excuse.
That's true. To a degree, I
No,
guess, yeah.
I just it's kind of a pet peeve of mine. Cheaper gear doesn't really exist now. Like even this is 9 years old, so in 2015, the amount of stuff they could have had access to, even with a backyard budget. I mean, most bar bands have the budget to put a good sounding album together. And I'm not saying I didn't like this album. I'm just saying, like, good enough gear is not. You can't say that on anything made in the last 10 years, 15 years. So this falls into that.
I agree with you to a fault, which is the internet and how much we love to lift up certain things at a certain price point that are lesser than others. So with that comes, if you have, I'll agree with you, if you have the knowledge, you are 100% correct. You cannot say that. But if you are like most of the world and get your information off of TikTok, you are probably running off of SM58s at your bar shows like 90% of the world.
I guess that's fair. I don't know. It's an interesting thing. I think about like guys way earlier than this and think about how expensive it was, how hard it was to do this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And then the explosion of lower budget albums and how much better they're sounding. And as much as live streaming has done bad for the music industry, it's given a lot of people an outlet to put things out that they couldn't have done before. I mean, we're getting way more music than we've ever gotten before. Just as a whole, technology is very helpful, actually, when it comes to that stuff, not the opposite.
Oh, yeah.
Cool. I guess I'll talk about this one real quick.
Yeah, we can talk about the song again. My bad.
We're gearheads.
So I rated this one a little bit higher than you guys. I liked it because of how short it was, which sounds like a bad thing, but I really digged the intro and the drop. Like I really like how they interacted with each other. I thought it was pretty. I thought it was like a nice, like short, sweet little break from what we've been getting.
We disagree a lot.
Yeah, I know.
I literally wrote, "Hey, was that a song? I think that was a chorus followed by a bridge. Interesting."
Yeah.
I think it has to have a verse to count as a song.
I did have this is almost an interlude. This one was good, but it was short. You were talking about the weird mixing choices. Are you mentioning Are you talking about the beginning, like with the drums?
No, the entire track was
Okay.
just muddy. Like
was-
everything was not
The
clear.
very beginning has like a really compressed drum, and I'm pretty sure that was on purpose.
Oh, that I know, but this was
Yeah.
like I was listening to the vocals. I was like, I can't make
Okay.
anything out, and then I was like, let me see if I can make out discernible notes. Not really. It was like I could put like chord shapes, but not anything past that. It was just all muddy.
This era of like kind of hard rock, like this isn't gent, but like that kind of era in the beginning and ending of that, which I think this maybe falls into, just had a lot of cheesy sounds. That's just par for the course.
It was also very popular to not open your amp sound up all the way for like a hot second, and this might have fallen in there because that leads to the most disgusting amp recording sound ever, and people liked it. It basically built-in amp compressor plus you add another compressor, so it just sounds like toilet water.
Damn.
I don't know. I think it's just it could be some of the mixing choices are a little odd at points. I definitely agree.
I think muddy isn't necessarily bad. It just means clear it up next time.
I bet we've talked about reference tracks on the show before and how important they are. I bet these reference tracks were wild. If they were using, if the mixing it up like the end of the reference tracks, I bet this playlist looked bonkers, and that's probably part of it. I mean, you kind of get that color change, you get the whole thing throughout the whole album. I mean, it was written like that too.
Mhm.
It's just kind of bounces back and forth and does all sorts of stuff. So I bet it was a wild playlist to start with, and it reminds me of a soundtrack, and it really does.
Yeah, how many of us knew that they did soundtracks before listening to this? Because I wonder if that affected anybody's scores.
I'm not gonna say I knew on my own merit. You told me yesterday, and I listened to this album today.
Mm-hmm.
So
You told me today after I had already listened to it.
Okay,
I figured it out.
that's fine. I guess it didn't really affect any scores then.
no, I mean, I mean, you had told me, and I knew, and then I completely forgot until you mentioned it again. I don't think it changes almost anything. It's like, yeah, you can definitely be like, this song is more epic, but then some of my favorite bands do epics like Iron Maiden, and they have zero, like, to my knowledge at least, film, like, soundtrack expertise.
So it's really funny because this is not really in that genre, but whenever I listen to like metal from that region, I 100% am like, I need to go back and watch an episode of Metalocalypse. and
I
just,
understand that.
you know, so it's like for whatever reason, I do get kind of a nostalgia vibe to some of this like metal from, I guess, that region. I don't know, how would you describe? They're Icelandic, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
so this was I don't know how offensive it is, so I'm not gonna. I usually say like where the Vikings are from, because that's kind of like the Nordic region.
The
I
Nordic,
guess,
that's it. Yeah, we.
I don't know how wrong it. That's like I don't know how offensive it is to call that part of the Nordic region, because when you get into the European countries over there, calling them the wrong thing is just very wrong.
Yeah, I think that's.
Let's
close
just stay
enough.
away from labels.
Yeah.
Why don't we just do that? You know, it's a lot easier.
Well, I don't mean it as in this band's a joke. I mean, I just really liked Metalocalypse, and for whatever reason, it always reminds me of it. That was all.
Metalocalypse might be like a top 10 Adult Swim show.
Peak show.
Actually, it's probably a top 3 Adult Swim show. It's a top 10 animated show.
Oh, dude, we need to make some merch for Wales. Not sell it on the store.
All right, let's move on to track 9.
Yep, that is See Hell. I gave it an 8 out of 10.
Ooh, I gave this a 6.5.
I gave it a 7 out of 10. And my review is very easy. I gave it a thumbs up plus.
Give it
Hey,
an 8.5.
Carson, we say the numbers first.
Oh, I'm pretty sure we could do that.
Sorry, that was for Logan.
Oh, fine.
I knew Logan would blow up. I'm laughing at Logan, not at the situation.
Aw.
Yeah, I'll explain it later. That was for Logan.
That was for Logan.
Yeah.
That's okay then. As long as it's for Logan.
Look, I hate to be that guy on this one. Intro, great. Riff, catchy. That's all I got for you, man. There's a whole lot there, but not a whole lot that I'm like, that's worth note. Like, that's worth a note. That's worth talking about.
Except there were another cool synth in this song.
It's just a synth, man. It wasn't specifically a cool one. It was just there.
It was good. It was a good synth.
It was alright. It was not my synth, but it was solid.
Do you want me to go? I guess I'll go. Fine.
That's really the only note I had, is that I like that in the vocals.
Hey,
See?
the reason I give it a thumbs up plus is that there's nothing in note, but it's a good song.
I actually have basically nothing other than this was a jam, and it locked into the tempo for whatever reason. Like the solidity of the tempo fitting the song was the best on this one. As a drummer, I'm a real sucker for that, so it got a higher score than everything else.
Perfect thumbs up plus.
Yeah.
Truly is.
Next track.
Next track. Let let fall the curtain. Jesus.
Oh, I have that
Yeah,
written
you-
down backwards.
I just say you did what I did. That's a hard one.
I don't even have it written down wrong. I just can't read.
No, that's like you
I
did.
have
What,
mine completely written down
That's what I'm
wrong, and I
saying.
didn't notice.
when we did our top 3, I read it wrong. And you did the
Mhm.
exact same thing.
I give it a 7 out of 10.
I give this a 7.5 out of 10.
I also give this a 7.5 out of 10.
I give it a 5.
Oh, damn.
Sorry, boys.
You're first, bro.
Okay, the little burr thing made me literally so mad I almost turned it off. Whatever the bass thing it was doing, I was like, ugh. And then it was almost an interlude again. I was like, well, at least it's over.
I love how, like, plucky the intro is. That's kind of what got me into it. And then, like, that ethereal vibe that I mentioned earlier is back, and I really fuck with it. For me, this one was really nice. I like the build-up a lot, too.
I must have missed the first song that sounded ethereal because I have it written down a couple times starting here. So
Oh, the Autumn Red had a little bit of it in it.
okay, I did really like it on this song though. Bunch of cool effects on instruments in the background too.
Yeah. First comment, Rain with a question mark. It was a great intro. It's very ambient. It's very soft. The piano was very quiet though. I also did question as to if this one was like a track or not. I was like, did the vocalist just kind of go into a booth on this, or did they record it? Cause it's just like everyone feels so kind of picture perfect. I was like, it was just good, very good.
All right, do we have anything else? All right, does anybody know how to say this next one?
Bamone?
I thought it was Bamone.
Sure, Bamone. I gave it an 8 out of 10.
Give this a 5 out of 10.
I give this an 8 out of 10.
I gave it a 7.
I thought you were gonna say 5.
Logan, go on the defensive.
All right, look, this song's got drive. The vocals do not have the drive required to match the energy of the guitar. Just because it's the high end falsetto or just like really airy vocals, it's hard to put power behind it. That's just my complaint, and that's the problem is it's a whole song of drive and a whole song of vocals I don't think have enough power.
Dang, I like the vocals.
Oh, they sound good.
Yeah,
That's
I
not
think- I
the
think they
problem.
sound
There's just not
spectacular.
enough power.
I actually think this is the song the vocals fit the best on the whole album.
Yeah, I think they sound spectacular
like-
here.
Like this is the one time I was like, oh, they fit with this genre. And this is actually the track that let me figure out that they were a soundtrack band, basically.
Oh,
Because,
this one was, yeah.
because I literally wrote down, it's like Kingdom Hearts Final Fantasy boss battle music. Like,
Really sick.
yeah,
You
I
know?
mean that's exactly what I thought of it because it kind of had that thing. The only thing I didn't like, the drum beat doesn't fit into it, and the piano might be a little repetitive for certain people, but
But it goes hard as
it
hell.
does. It's a good track. Yeah, I was.
Yeah, I also had this sounds like it was ripped straight out of the soundtrack of something. This is another track where they built a rock song around the piano, and I think those ones ended up being my favorite on here. Just again, a lot of cool background effects, cool synths. That's all I had written.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on the piano. Like I said, for me it goes super hard. I really dig the like kind of swapping back and forth we get in this song. I think it brings a really nice variation to not only the song, but kind of relaying it back to the rest of the album. Some of the harsh changes in tonality and variation that we get, it's kind of nice. Kind of dig it. I was getting it at this point.
All right, we got anything else?
No.
Cool. Next up is Angst. I gave it a 5.5 out of 10.
I gave this a 4 out of 10.
I also gave it a 5.5 out of 10.
I gave it a 5.
Listen, I get what they tried to do, but the main thing, I can't hear the vocals during the metal section of this, and B, the metal section of this should have been its own track. It should not have been slapped on the end of a different track that had nothing to do with it.
It's also, I don't think it's done the best. I don't think the
No.
screaming vocals are done the best, and the fact that it's just one line that's really hard to discern. Yeah. It's the metal part that really drives me out of this song. At least it's short, you know. That's its saving grace.
Yeah, I put the title is accurate. That was the only thing you missed. It made me uncomfortable for the entire last half of the song, and I wanted it to end. I'm glad it was short.
Yeah, I really just
Oh, is that this one?
just read the comment. I think the complaints from last song just carried right the fuck over, man. It's another thing of the dude sounds really good. It's just they're missing either a second person or a track of the mids and bass in there somewhere for me, and that's just it. I mean, it's just I'm not a lover of the lack of mids. I've been very adamant about that for months now. I've had it at this point in the show. Bring back the mids.
Starting to think it's your headphones.
No, dude. I'm all about shrinking the mids. I used to have a meme in my mix room that said, "Honey, I shrunk the mids." It had Rick Moranis on it. Just so you know. You missed that great joke.
Honey, I Shrunk the Mids.
Honey, I Shrunk the Mids. It had a picture of Rick Moranis on an equalizer. That's one of my favorite things I've ever seen. But
I need that shirt now.
yeah, no, it's very good. But that's just metal. That's what they do.
That's the honest answer is I'm a classic rock guy that likes metal, so I'm used to full mids. They just get scooped.
All right, we got anything else? Moving on to Death Rattle. I gave it a 6 out of 10.
I believe I gave this one a 4 out of 10.
Whoa, I gave this one a 7 out of 10.
I give it a 6 out of 10. But I see both sides. I do.
This is another one for me that was here. I was able to like chill out and kind of vibe to it. It kind of blended in with some of the other stuff, but it was unique in its own special way. Yeah, I just at this point in the album, it's hard to discern and talk about some of the different things going on because some of it overlaps, and I felt very much that way about this song. Not so much about the next one, but with this one, this was I'm even like halfway forgetting about it now. Just because it was one of those like standard, just general. Yeah, it's good.
Until the end. The ending of this one. Listen, I get it. They make soundtracks. In the context of an album, there is 2 full minutes of post-song at the end of this song that doesn't really need to be there, and then an 18-second fade out.
I completely like just vibe to it. I swear.
And I get it.
Dude, this album is literally like the songs are floating in interlude soup. Like it, I don't know how else to explain it other than there's like cream between all the stacks instead of just in the middle of the Oreos. I don't know, man. It's like it's not good.
It's
sometimes
like eating Oreos in cereal format.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. I don't know. It's just like,
but the milk is the cream.
They have a product for you then.
Yes, it's
that
called
exists.
Oreos.
No, the milk of the cereal is just the thick ass cream.
Oh, that sounds good for like one bite. Just like this song. No, I'm just kidding. The cadence of the song is very catchy. It's fun. The ending's long as fuck. And there's just some times when maybe a click track forgot to get the play button pressed.
which is funny because there's literally a pulse going through the whole first half of the song. So I think that's what happened to me. I think that's why it scored where it did, is because at some point the note the pulse is on drops a fifth, and I almost fell over when that happened because I was so zoned in. Like, I used to sleep with a metronome in my ears. I don't know if you know that or not, but I used to sleep with a Dr. Beat actually in my ear, so I can hear those things from like a mile away. But I get to a certain point where I can lock in to a point where like I just like vibe with the tempo, and it will just feel right. And then if you change the pitch even, I will like lose my mind. I guess I'm in a trance from listening to the tempo, and that's probably why because the track changes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It stressed me out a lot, and I didn't know how to write it down.
All right, we good to move on?
Good to move on.
Mm-hmm.
How do you say this one, Carl?
I said Mono no Arai, but I don't know if that's right or not.
We're gonna go
That
with
one
it.
definitely sounded the least
Yeah,
accurate.
Yeah, it's getting worse every time I say it. This is why you don't
Mono
ask me.
no Aware.
Aware, yeah.
Aware.
We'll go with that. I gave it a 7.5 out of 10.
I give this one like 4 out of 10 again.
I gave it a 5.
7.
Oh, that's how long the track is.
Yep.
And that's part of the reason I gave it a 5. I feel like it was really drawn out. This really feels like a soundtrack song.
I was gonna say this is the ending song to a soundtrack, and I think that does it really well.
It's the end credit song. It literally is written as an end credit song.
But going into it knowing there's a song right after it.
All right,
you
that one
know?
says bonus track. That's its defense. If it didn't say bonus track, it would have dropped at least 3 points. But it acknowledges that song is not a part of this. It's almost like this was the soundtrack, and the bonus track is the one they used for the trailers.
Are we just refusing to acknowledge how this song just exists? It starts out like halfway out of tune and then turns into like metal. And then it's like pop punk.
Well, it turns into one of the songs from earlier that I wrote down to figure out which one it is. I think it's the second track, but I never actually went back to figure it out.
Is it? Okay.
It rips almost one-to-one a song from earlier as like a reference to it.
Oh. But then it ends in like a dial tone, which made me mad. It made me very angry.
Oh, this is the one where the sounds at the end were doing something to my brain was written down.
Yeah,
I think I was going numb
It was
listening
like
to
a
the
dial
ending.
tone.
It kind of resets you. It
Yeah.
resets your
It-
whole body.
Yeah, you get to a point where listening to this album, you start zoning out, and that happened to me pretty early on.
Mhm.
It kind of sucks you in. It's
I
by
mean,
design.
look at
Yeah,
my
it's
last 3
why it's-
songs, Carl.
Yeah.
That's why it sucks to review this album.
Oh yeah. this
Like
is-
listening to this album, I bet I would infinitely more like it. But if I have to I'm like sitting here having to like not get sucked all the way into it, and it blows.
Yeah, I kind of want to try it like when I'm more zoned, because I listen to it first thing in Friday mornings normally, so I'm fresh. And this was definitely like a late night listen. Should have been. This
Yeah.
should have been relaxing, not trying to get up.
Yeah, that's
I think that's some
Spot
of the
on.
problem. But I'm going to argue with your thing about it having to be the last track. Sorry, that was what I was looking up.
Mhm.
So exit music for a film, the Radiohead song, is only track 4 on OK Computer. And that album still works. So it probably could go somewhere else.
It could, and there's a couple other places. I think whatever track 10 was I had written down as this could have been the ending to the whole thing, as it was at track 10. But like, I think this one does a good job at being the last track.
Did anyone pay attention to the lyrics? Does it tell a story throughout the song?
I
throughout
didn't
the
pick
throughout
up on
the
it.
album?
I gave up on lyrics like track 6.
Okay, because I was wondering if like the lyrics tell a story throughout the album, and that's why it ended up that way. Because it's like the song goes with the lyrics, almost more like the lyrics of the movie and the songs of the soundtrack, instead of the other way around. Because there's a lot of albums that are very much a movie musically, and the lyrics don't follow it.
Yeah, I tried to look up if this album was either a soundtrack to something or had like something like that built in. I couldn't find anything. I looked for like
Interesting.
band interviews with the band. I couldn't
Oh,
find anything
dang.
either.
You know how we do that? We just ask the dude.
I was gonna say it's not like we can't figure that out,
It's
but
like, we can just ask this guy.
Well, if you find out, let me know. I'm actually interested to know because it would make the album make more sense. I think. If
Yeah, I could see that.
if there was a reason. Otherwise, I really think it could be chopped up better. I think track listing could be moved around in general.
I think that I'll get into that when we get to that part of
But
the
that's
show.
that's the next part.
Yeah.
well, what a segue. The bonus track, Stillness.
Right.
I gave it a 6.5.
Yeah, I gave this a blank out of 10. I forgot to write down a number.
I gave it a 6 out of 10.
I didn't listen to the bonus track. Funny fact. That's why I was leading you into pacing because I don't have it written down.
Ah,
Look, I'm going to tell you, it was all drums and piano, at least from what I have written down.
this is my, if I can get it to work, Come on.
How the hell did I get it doing this shit?
This is my thumbs up. I don't think that it really needs to be here. I think the last song did a fine job at ending it, but it acknowledges that it is extra, so I didn't count it against anything else or pacing. So
At this point of the album, I had zoned into it. I let it suck me in, and this one was just here. It's just a little bit of candy at the very end. Not very sweet, but
Pacing.
I don't know. Going back
Nope.
into it with this song, back into what the rest of this album was, didn't feel great after the song before it.
yeah,
Like, it was fine, but
It's kind of 7 minutes does kind of just like draw it out really heavy.
I don't think bonus tracks can count for pacing.
No, I wouldn't.
Mm-mm.
If they tell me that it's that, then I'm not gonna.
I
Because
didn't include it in mine.
okay, because like I
We did have one where we heavily let the bonus tracks destroy the pacing, but
I don't know. And bonus tracks are a way to release more material if things are too short. But without it, it was 50 minutes. It was a decent length. I mean, even though some songs were weird lengths, it turned out to be the right amount of time, especially for 14 songs.
How long was this bonus track?
I thought it was like a normal.
I
Yeah,
thought
like
this
4
was like
minutes or
2
something.
minutes.
Because
Yeah.
that's what I was talking about. Like the album as a whole without the bonus track was a good time. It was right
Oh
at
yeah.
50.
Oh, my bad. I thought you meant the.
No, it was right at 50. I was just trying to defend my position of not listening to it by saying it shouldn't exist, basically.
Oh yeah. Bonus tracks can go one of two ways. They can either be the best song on the album because they were written with retrospect, or they can be like this, tacked on, because it was something that they wanted to write and maybe couldn't think of where to put it. And that's cool. It works, and I dig it.
So-
I don't love it, but I don't hate it.
Hot take. Bonus tracks can only be live or alternate cuts of songs already on the album. Hot take.
You have not heard Busy Woman.
All right, we ready to move into pacing?
We're ready to move into pacing.
All right, I gave the pacing a 7 out of 10.
I gave the pacing a 7 out of 10.
I gave it an 8.
I gave it a 6.
For me, I got sucked fully into this album twice. Like, I zoned fully in, and if I had been in that mode the entire time, this album would go by in the blink of an eye. It flows super nicely into each other. There are only a couple tracks where I'm like, I don't like that, and I can overlook them because they're short. Other than the 7-minute one.
I think I'm going to agree mostly with you. I think a lot of this, I was in the mindset of this is probably supposed to be a soundtrack or like soundtrack adjacent to something. So all the things that probably would have hurt my pacing score didn't because I knew that going in. So that might be where my score comes from.
I honestly think a lot of the pacing flaws just come from some of the weird shit.
I was literally going to say exactly the same thing. You put in all of the weird stuff and it doesn't work for the flow in any sort of good way. It just doesn't make it like it doesn't make two songs fit together better, and I think it ruins the pacing by spinning you places. It just the constant change, and if you're not going to make it work, why is it there? The album could have been 10 minutes shorter without all the filler, and I would have liked it better. I don't know. That's all it is.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's fair.
pretty much all the weird shit. 7 fucking minutes, dude. Come on. Last song. I'm in the home stretch. 3 and I'm free. Remember that.
Did we not
You'll be-
review an album this season with a 30-minute song that wasn't even the ending?
We did, and you want to know how flame that one got? Go look at the 5-minute review on all 30 minutes of it.
So, if it's going somewhere, I get it. You know, if it's telling a story, I get it. These tracks gave me the vibe that they didn't. They almost felt like two different songs pushing up against each other, which, to be fair, reminds me of the Beatles. A lot of their songs are like that, but prog rock isn't like that.
Well, we got shit, was it Dredge or what was last week's album? I'm such a goober.
Origami Angel.
It was Origami Angel, where we actually see what I think almost was trying to be done here, done in probably the best way, which is we're talking about how this is soundtrack ending. Well, how do films end? The way they used to end is they would show the sections of scores and what was used. West Side Story is very famous. You can go get it on the Blu-ray, and it does this still. And we just saw it last week how it was done perfect. So to come to this week, see where it's still done quite like solidly, but coming off of perfect to just good. Oh man, it's like
all right,
night
so
and day.
That does give me a new perspective on this because I wasn't here last week.
Mm-hmm.
And that may be some of it is because last week's album does almost exactly the thing I think they were trying to do with this one, in probably the best way I've ever heard it done.
Oh wow, I'm gonna have to go listen to that album.
Yeah, it was, and this particular thing, it's almost like we accidentally put two albums back to back that were super similar. I mean, obviously, how could we have known, right?
Yeah.
So, but it's really funny because when you compare the two, this album almost leans one way. It almost leans towards like, oh, it's a soundtrack, but it doesn't do that necessarily well either. So that's why I'm kind of curious as to what the ideal was, because if some of this was cut down, even some of the repetition, if even some of just the little stuff was shorter, unless there's a specific reason. Because I was thinking about what movie soundtracks are like. Movie soundtracks don't have all the noises in between the tracks like you're watching the movie. I mean, I get that they were
some
trying,
do.
but most of the good ones don't.
That's true.
If they're going to get airplay, they don't. And you would assume that you would design something made as an album to be able to get airplay, right? You would think that's the idea. I don't know. Well, you guys were talking about it a second ago. I was going through things in my head. I was like, okay, what could they have been trying to do here? And I still can't come up with it. I don't know. And I think it's just that we listened to that album last week, and because I'm pretty deeply ingrained into some prog rock, prog adjacent things, and a lot of their albums do it better the other way.
I've got your honest and complete total answer here. We're American.
I bet.
This is
Yeah.
not our realm. This is definitely music that we're trying to put an American spin on. That, while yes, this is in English, clearly this is not American music. There are things done in there that, while interesting to musicians and most people that are open to things, if you took someone who listens to a 145 exclusively and showed them this, it's gonna melt their brain.
And so what's really funny about that is, like, I listen to brain-melting stuff. It's just for whatever reason, there's so many different slight divisions of, like, progressive music, and this definitely falling in that category. This just doesn't fall into one of the slight things I don't like. Because guys that are into prog usually are very polarized by certain bands. So this one falls onto the wrong side, unfortunately, for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I just couldn't look past it. It made it weird.
Alrighty.
All right. Album art time. I gave this album art a 7 out of 10.
I gotta give it like a 5.
I gave it a 6.5.
I give it a 7.
I'll bitch first. My complaint with this is the same complaint I have with many a film, which is the lighting on the fire is just not right.
Well, I think it's a like green screen effect or something.
Oh
it
yeah,
definitely
Like,
is.
The effect is not done great.
that's 100% all it is. Just like, I just don't like the lighting of it.
I also don't think you're supposed. I think I'm gonna argue there. I think the lighting of it is good, but the effect itself is not super great. But at a distance, I kind of really like this album art.
For me, all it is, the effect looks like something you'd find off Google in 30 seconds. It doesn't look. I mean, it looks like a standard cut paste. This is a fireball. Yeah, cool. 6.5. It's decent. It's a neat concept. It just looks done pretty plainly.
It looks like a European alt rock album is all it is. So like I I won't say I know a lot about European rock, but I will probably say I listen to European rock as much as American rock because it's generally pretty good. It just looks like a lot of other album covers that were around in this area. There's just heads on a lot of them for some reason. I don't know what. Maybe it was just a few years where I'm sure people are going to be like, what albums are you talking about? And I have no idea off the top of my head because I haven't had album art on my phone or anything for a long time. So, but I remember a specific trend where a bunch of albums looked like this.
I know where these flames come from, by the way. I just figured it out. They come straight off of a Nickelback album cover. You know which one I'm talking about? There's one with like flames down both sides. I'm like, oh yeah, it's just the same like copy paste fire effect.
So slight diversion. I listen to Pandora on my phone when I'm driving around most of the time because unlimited data is awesome. But sorry, no. Apparently Nickelback has a new Rebel Country channel on Pandora. It recommended me listen to the other day, and I was like, all right, it's time to delete my Pandora and start over. I just wanted you to think about that thought for a second.
I don't think it has it on an actual album cover. It just looks like the vibe. Yeah. I wonder what I'm thinking of now.
It's on the. If it's the one I'm thinking of, it's the one that's got the car driving away. It was on the CD.
Oh.
On like
yeah.
in the booklet.
Yeah. I had that.
So I will go for the record and say I don't hate Nickelback. I just don't want Rebel Country playing on my Pandora.
That's so fair. I like Rebel Country, but
I bet
just
you do.
me. Let's move on to the album overall.
Album overall, I gave it a 7.25 out of 10.
Gave it a 7 out of 10.
I gave it a 7.5.
7.
I'll go. I
Maybe
feel
a
like
little band.
as the biggest shitter on of this album, the honest answer is all the shitting on is completely subjective, and that is my taste in personal. I think as far as that goes, like putting musicality forward and taking like personal bias aside, as far as it goes, there's talent, there's heart, there's care, there's just mixing, mastering problems. There's just certain flaws with it that are going to come with any album, and I think this falls right into that. It's pretty good. If you like the genre, you're going to like this one. Maybe. I'm not super versed.
I 100% agree. I was gonna say I'm gonna say almost the exact same thing. Is like, it's probably an awesome album, and I just don't get it. I got into like the 4th track, and I was like, no, I don't get it. I was like, I'm sure there are people who do. I'm sure it's just a me thing, but for like whatever reason, this just didn't resonate with me. And again, because I watch it on YouTube, I was scrolling through comments on some of these because I thought it was really weird. Because this band got great reviews. I mean, because I usually try and look and see how it was received and stuff when I'm doing some basic research. But this album got great reviews. The fans love this stuff, even though this is their last album of only 2 albums, right?
They are working on a 3rd.
Okay, so they're working on another one. But, you know, it's everyone loves this album from what I read, and I was like, why? What am I missing? What am I not seeing? And I finally so I'm trying to apologize without sounding like I being rude, but I didn't figure it out. I don't know. I'm ranting to say I didn't figure it out.
Look, I get it because there's some motherfuckers I still don't get it about.
I think I got it just a little bit. Being able to zone a little bit in portions of this album and like just kind of letting it wash over me, like that. Those were the moments where I was like, yeah, I fucking love this. This is awesome. But when you like take a step back from that and you look at it critically, it gets a lot harder. It turns into a much harder listen. Especially for me, I have my 7.5 is really simple. I took a point off for the first song. I took a point off for the 7-minute song, and then took half a point off for the ending of Angst. That's pretty much it. Those are my main gripes with this album. I thought everything else was nice.
Yeah, I mean, it honestly really is just so hard to talk about something so far out of of like any of our reach on a general day-to-day basis.
So I actually think this is a fairly like isolated type of music. That's the other thing I found in the comments is like there's 5 bands really that make this kind of genre that at least are easy for us to find.
Let me guess, that genre is called whatever one of those bands is.
It's not. There wasn't a name for the genre, and that's why. I mean, we don't even really have a common name. That's why I was trying to talk about the location of where it's all from, because it's all from the same area around. I mean, it listed it as prog alternative math rock. It definitely was none of that. It leaned metal at points, and all of the people that gave it really high scores were metal people. But it's not heavy, so the whole thing was really weird. And I was trying to figure out where it fits. That's what you have to do with metal. We've talked about this before. If you want to enjoy metal as someone that only can kind of enjoy metal, you really have to learn to compartmentalize. I actually don't think anyone loves all metal, but that's another conversation. But you just kind of take and you try to fit chunks places, and that's kind of how rock is too, to certain extents. So I tried to play the game. I tried to fit the puzzle pieces, and it's just so small. What my point was, it's so small, I don't think we would have had a way to have context. Man, I'm taking big round circles to get to things today. Sorry.
Not a fan of the Icelandic jungle juice.
I guess if you want to call it that. What the hell does that mean, Logan?
It just means that's what I'm gonna call this genre, man. It's good.
I hope that catches on. That's a
No.
sick genre name.
You do not have the power to make genres, and if you do, that's a terrible power to waste at a time like now.
Look, man,
You should just mix like pop and rock together and call it POC, and then make everything become POC music if you have that power.
Why can't you throw in every genre and call it jungle juice?
All right, we've done 2. If we keep going, one of them is going to catch on.
It's just, it feels like the easiest way to say this is just, it feels like they just took something in their brain, threw it out, and then kind of sculpted it a little more than people who have no idea what they're doing, in a way that makes it seem like they know a lot of what they're doing, because they probably do. So it's like they didn't maybe, fine chisel it like a super craftsman, because they were like, everybody does that, that's not us. So then they do these fine tunings here and there, and then they add their flavor. So you just have so much going in, and then such little fat trimmed off, but all the important fat being trimmed off, and it's just such a weird existence.
I don't know, I hope we get the story, because I really want to know the story behind the whole thing and why it was put together the way it was. That's the thing I'm missing. I think that's the piece I don't get in order to see it as a piece of art. Because that's one of the other things. It got called art rock a couple of times, and I was like, I kind of get that.
Yeah.
That's probably what I would classify it as. I almost had like cinematic rock was the one that was bouncing around in my head.
See, to me, cinematic rock doesn't exist. It's just epic. But to me, epic is usually like, it's hard to explain that even.
Well, just like you said, it doesn't exist. You just heard it today for the first time.
But
It's Icelandic jungle juice.
again, we screwed ourselves, because last week, think about the album last week and how that played a movie in your head versus this week. So if last week was cinematic rock, this is not.
We
screwed ourselves hard.
Cinematic emo. We got it. We fixed it all.
Cinematic emo.
last week we listened to an album designed for people our age to have the best trip of their life.
Yeah.
And then this week we listened to music not designed for us, that we don't quite understand, and we give our best go at it, and oh my gosh, it's so hard to get it. It's so hard.
I wouldn't say not designed for us.
That's true. Not designed for Americans.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I was going to say it's 4 white guys sitting in a room. We're the target audience. But
I meant us as an Americans. But yes, we are definitely the target audience for this. And last week.
Yeah.
All right. End show. Bye, show.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna have a live next week.
No, we're not.
I don't know in 2 weeks what the live is.
Happy holidays.
No, we got another. In 2 weeks, come back for, I think, possibly the final review of the season and the year. There might be one more. We'll see what happens. But we got Heaven by Mariana's Trench.
I forgot I gotta host that. All right, y'all. See you for Heaven. Heaven, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought it was Heavener for a second.
No, that's a different album that we did review. Just you didn't review.
Gotcha. Cool. Heaven by Mariana's Trench next week. Happy Thanksgiving. Everybody stay safe. We will not see you next Friday, but we will see you eventually. Goodbye.